Hello and welcome to Confused Reviews, where a cartoon drawing reviews movies, and the time has come. After taking a look at Hellraiser movies since the pilot episode, we've finally arrived on a sinister day. It's now time to take a closer look at the ninth and by far worst movie of the bundle, Hellraiser Revelations. Since the last time we saw an appearance from our nail-covered servant of hell, Dimension Films and the Weinstein Company realized that the rights to the dormant Hellraiser series were about to expire. And since the supposed remake was about as far along as Kubrick's Napoleon movie, they decided to rush a ninth movie into production. And by rushed, I mean it was shot in 11 days, and all of production took about 3 weeks. Which means this review took longer to make than the movie itself. Another gigantic red flag is that series vet Doug Bradley does not return to play Pinhead, which is unfortunate because even the small glimpses we got from him in the lesser sequels were somewhat enjoyable. He was approached, but became very hesitant when he was told that there wasn't going to be a second draft of the script, but also the fact that his salary would be, and I quote, the price of a fridge. And I'd bet money it would have been an icebox like the one Gordon Ramsay yells about. He also later referred to it as a cinematic ashcan copy, or in other words, it was only made to establish trademarks and not intended to be sold, and he's not really wrong. Plus, Clive Barker, the man behind the magic, was very displeased with his name being plastered all over the movie's promotional material. He then took to Twitter with a tweet so glorious, I feel it only right to give this classic gem a dramatic reading. I have nothing to do with the fucking thing. If they claim it's from the mind of Clive Barker, it's a lie. It's not even from my butthole. I couldn't have summed it up any better myself. We're in trouble. So let's just dissect this turd and see if there's even a microscopic glimpse of good. This is Hellraiser Revelations. Ugh. So this shit show starts with two jack-offs filming their vacation to Mexico, and it looks terrible. It has more jump cuts than a shitty YouTube vlogger, is shaky as all hell, and is so overexposed it's almost blinding to look at. Not to mention, it's found footage. Just because the Blair Witch Project did it well once doesn't mean you should use it. Also, take note of their names.
My name is Nico Bradley, and this is my best friend, Stephen Craven.
And in the back seat, we have Terry Carpenter, John Hodder, and fucking Peter Dourif. All jokes aside, did they think this was cute and clever? It's honestly so distracting and embarrassing. You're dragging Doug Bradley's name through the mud, naming one of your dogshit characters after him, even after he said your script was garbage. And the Wes Craven connection is still up in the air for me, because I have no idea where or why this comes from. Anyways, Steven and Nico, played by Nick Who Gives a Shit and Jay Whatever It Doesn't Matter, crudely explain their plan to get hookers and drink a lot. It's about as classy as you'd imagine.
We're about to get laid. Multiple times over.
At Disneyland?
You can get laid at Disneyland.
You are disgusting. You'll never find love. Blech.
After fast-forwarding past all kinds of dumb dude-bro conversation, we find ourselves at a familiar puzzle box ritual, and sooner than later we sorta see Pinhead, now played physically by Stephen Smith Collins, and voiced by Fred Tatasciore. He sounds kind of...
No.
Nico!
You opened it, summoned us.
Odd. Not sure if they didn't bother modifying his pitch, or he just wanted to give the Cenobite a new sound, but either way it feels really out of place. The headache-inducing shaky cam sort of subsides as we see all the footage is being watched on a video camera by Steven's mom Sarah, played by Devon Servari, who tells her daughter Emma, played by Tracy Faraway, that all the footage was nothing.
Can I see?
It's nothing.
Whatever.
Oh well. We see they live in a huge mansion that I'm sure Adam Sandler will rent for his next movie, and Emma tries talking to her parents about the fact that Steven might be dead. But her mom is much more content on taking the Bill Denborough method of coping.
She's not dead, she's missing.
Nico's folks come over for dinner or something, and tensions immediately soar. Emma, in acting so horrible I wonder if she auditioned on the casting couch, seems to be the only person in either family to give a shit about the two boys being gone. She eventually grabs Nico's old camera and watches footage of the two wasting a lot of their booze by almost entirely missing the shot glass. Drunk or not, that's just dumb.
She doesn't understand a word I'm saying. ¿Cómo está?
Was that the same swoosh sound that I use?
Say, ¿Cómo está?
What an awful way to cover up a jump cut. The two chat up this girl who doesn't speak English, and she acts just as suspicious as that creepy bitch in VHS, and before we know it, we see Nico swooped in and stole Steven's honey.
Oh shit. She was a hooker.
Seems to me like you dodged a bullet there, Steve. Once the fucking has ceased, Nico starts acting super hasty, as well as the fact that the hooker has a little headache.
You guys were she's fucking dead. How is that an accident?
I don't know, okay?
That's such a terrible line, yet it might also be one of the best lines ever spoken. Quite a catch-22. Back to this waste of time, Emma apparently has the lament configuration, and after touching it for 1 second, Steven just returns. Yes, it's literally that abrupt and random. Not sure how or why, but, you know. They lay him down, and Detective Dr. Dad is just, oh boy, he's a treat.
I don't think he's hurt. I don't think this is his blood.
Excuse me, I didn't realize you had a degree in medicine.
So yeah, the family's cars are gone, Nico is God knows where, and Steven is flailing around like he lost several billion brain cells. It then suddenly turns into a great value version of The Strangers, as the two groups freak out over the impending doom outside. But instead of great acting, crippling suspense, and actually menacing villains, Revelations has none of that.
Fuck that, man. I want some answers now. Steve! Stop it! Pop, would you all calm the fuck down right now?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm kind of retarded.
Right, I'm gonna get the gun. You guys check the windows and doors. Okay, good idea.
Wait, what? Does she not want him to protect them? He wants to make sure I'm safe. What a prick. While the dad locks up, we see what is, at least to me, by far the worst Cenobite catastrophe this series has ever shit out. Ready or not, here he comes. Pseudo Pinhead.
Holy Jesus. What is that? What the fuck is that?
So not only does the real Pinhead look like someone in shitty cosplay, now we have this abomination to deal with too. This guy makes the dog Cenobite look exciting. They lock and load the boomstick, and the family quarreling doesn't stop.
You're drunk, Peter. So what? So I don't want any accidents happening.
That's not necessarily true. It might heighten this idiot's senses like it does for Ricky.
Because if I can't smoke and swear, I'm fucked. And so are all these guys.
Anywho, it continues to flash between Pinhead standing around and the family freaking out some more. It also continues to be completely pointless. Steven Slendermans his way outside, and his acting is the equivalent to a wooden plank.
He said they would show us something different.
I wish I was watching a different movie. Back to the Mexican bar, homeless Tommy Wiseau
Oh, hi, Mark.
plops down next to the boys and gives them some Axe body spray. Nah, I'm kidding. Obviously, he hands them the puzzle box. He acts super vague and weird, yet still piques the douchebag's interest.
How can we taste the truly sweet without a little bit of the sour?
I mean, there are other ways. So basically, this guy continues to talk for so long I feel like I need to shave by the time it's done, and we see for the second time that yes, Nico opened the lament configuration and was taken by not the real Pinhead. Just in case you got hit in the head with a hammer since the beginning of this crappy mess. Brain-dead Shaggy is still being interrogated when we see that he also killed a hooker or two for Nico, only for him to return in the same hole Johnny Depp got sucked into once. So yeah, they're trying to do the same dead person revived by killing others for them thing from the first Hellraiser, which I'd say I respect, being none of the sequels really tried continuing that element, but it's done so sloppily and not explained that they might as well have not even bothered. To any outsider, this just makes the Cenobites look like knockoff vampires or shitty cannibals.
They're coming.
Who, Hollywood? To make sure you're never in a movie again?
They're coming.
They tuck Steven into bed in a room I can only assume is for an 8-year-old, being there's a bunch of participation trophies and generic toy trains and shit. We see Emma looking up Cenobite in the dictionary. Did Oscar's sarcasm write this movie?
Should I bring a dictionary to the hospital?
The hospital will provide dictionaries. Bring a thesaurus.
Also, who just has a library-level dictionary sitting around their house? And better yet, why didn't they look it up on their phone or computer? Seems a lot easier to do in the 2010s than whipping out a dictionary. We see Pinhead and Chatter begin to cut off this Muppet's flesh costume, and he survives because healthcare in hell is top-notch.
It's good to be home.
Oh, somebody kill me, please!
Jesus, this movie has some of the worst acting I've ever seen. It makes the movie feel 1,000,000 times longer than it actually is. Back with Emma's stupid ass, she continues caressing the puzzle box as well as not only getting aroused by it, but trying to act all creepily sexual to Nico's dad.
Why are you doing that?
Yeah, I don't know why either. Let's just keep trucking. So she brings some soup to Steven, who acts overly creepy about it. And in the grossest thing I'll see this week, they start making out. They're brother and sister, in case you forgot. Moving as far away from that as I can, the two dads do a little investigating until coming into contact with Charles Lee Ray, who stands there looking like he should be on an episode of To Catch a Predator. Nico's pop shoots the guy, but he gets back up like the goddamn Terminator and cuts him up. The homeless guy leaves, and we see Pete now looks like Jeff the Killer, and everybody starts screaming. Yeah, I'm not even really sure what to say. This movie's downright awful. Steven returns, armed with said shotgun, and, how does that nursery rhyme go? Pop goes the weasel. So Steven tries to be intimidating, climbing onto the table to establish dominance, but I can't take anything the prick is saying seriously, because he's still wearing his fucking pajamas. We see another pointless flashback of Steven killing another hooker, but he stops once he hears the annoying shrieks of a baby, so Nico just finishes the job himself. Wait a minute, if Nico can kill people, why does Steven have to do it at all? Couldn't Steven have just left Mexico after he initially saw Nico's corpse reappear? Actually, it doesn't matter. This jackass covered in A1 sauce keeps pressuring Steven to kill just one more person for him, but he just doesn't seem into it anymore. So, of course, just like every other one of these worthless Hellraiser sequels, prepare yourselves for another twist. If you were wondering why Steven has been acting like a lifeless puppet, I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. If you were wondering why Steven has been acting even more like a lifeless puppet since we saw him in Mexico, it's because Nico got fed up with him and skinned him, meaning this dipshit is in reality this dipshit. Dollar store Ted Logan here then reveals Nico's mom has been having an affair with Steven's dad. Emma made out with her own brother, which unfortunately we had to witness, and I'm ready to stick my hand into a jar of acid. By the way, none of these two things have anything to do with fucking anything. After Nico says some more graphic nonsense, we find out Steven, in reality, was left skinless on a shady Mexican motel floor, which is probably the last place on Earth you'd want to be. Ew. Emma stabs him, and she unleashes a generic Hellraiser landscape, only for Pinhead and Son to return, allowing Nico to realize his plan was about as successful as shooting herself in the foot. Anywho, Nico's mom is ripped open, and her acting is so laughable it hurts a little bit. Nico explains that he planned on trading Emma for his own freedom, but Pinhead is basically like, I don't barter, bitch. And this tool is chained up, but before the Hell Priest can take him away, Steven's dad blows a hole in him. Wait, so he can get a buckshot to the chest and barely feel anything, but the moment he gets shot, he immediately dies.
What?
Pinhead then explains how the rest of Steven's family would have been just fine if they would have let the Cenobites take Nico, but since Ross decided to kill him, the demons will instead need a replacement of equal or greater value, which just so happens to be his wife. Nice one, dumbass. So yeah, the mom gets turned into Plastic Man and dragged away, Ross finally dies, and Emma grabs the box, and they try to lead into a potential sequel. Thankfully, none of this will ever be mentioned or referenced again. And that was Hellraiser Revelations, and the only revelation this movie provides is the fact that there is no hope in saving this franchise. Who knew writing a screenplay that was meant to be a Hellraiser movie from the beginning could turn out to be this unbelievably bad? From the first frame of this movie, you can tell you're in for some garbage. Strike 1 was the overexposed opening scene, Strike 2 was the found footage shakiness, and Strike 3 was dialogue so horrendous you'd think a 13-year-old over Xbox Live wrote it. And that's only the opening 2 minutes. Everything in this movie is just awful. It's the shortest Hellraiser movie to date at a mere hour 15, yet it feels like it has a runtime equal to the Return of the King. The characters are not only shitty people, but spout such terrible lines I wouldn't be surprised if this entire movie was ad-libbed. The story is so stupid, and feels like they took bits and pieces from the Hellraiser series Wikipedia page and slapped together this uninspired script in 5 minutes. The found footage aspect is bad, but it's made even worse when they straight up abandon the technique a third of the way through, yet continue the wobbly camera moves for the rest of the movie, making it feel like it was recorded by someone with Parkinson's. For the acting, man. I've seen bad acting in movies, but this is Ouija levels of terrible acting. I'm not sure if the cast got the parts from a mail-in sweepstakes or the audition asked for the worst actors in Hollywood, because every single person in this flick can't give one convincing line. It somehow makes my season 1 and 2 skits look Oscar-worthy. And just like always, finally I'd like to take a moment to discuss the slap-in-the-face treatment of Pinhead. I 100% understand Doug Bradley not wanting to return, and in all honesty, I wouldn't want to come back either, but his replacement is abysmal. I'm not sure if it's his voice, mannerisms, or just how the actor looks in the makeup, but there's something off. You can't tell me not one person on set looked at this and went, maybe we should redo that look. And just like Occam's razor, they could have had this Pinhead hide in the shadows, and even that would have been 10 times more effective, even with his goofy voice. So, as you'd expect, I didn't much care for this movie, just like how I wouldn't much enjoy getting stabbed in the face very much. There isn't a single redeeming factor in this thing, and I'm hesitant to even call this a movie. Gary J. Tunnicliffe managed to make a 6-minute short film on a budget of less than $3,000 that was better made and treated the Cenobites with more respect than this entire production, even with his name attached to the screenplay. I wouldn't and can't recommend this movie to anyone. It doesn't have the so bad it's good quality and doesn't even have a slice of enjoyment. This is not only the worst Hellraiser movie by a wide margin, but is officially the new silver medal holder for worst movie I've reviewed, because nothing will ever beat that. But trust me, this one came close. I'm without a doubt giving Hellraiser Revelations an F. I was honestly shocked at how truly awful it turned out to be. There's no doubt in my mind that this movie is completely worthless, adds nothing interesting to the franchise, has some of the worst characters and acting I've ever seen, and takes a bigger shit on Pinhead than all of the bad sequels combined. Hell might actually be the only place for such a despicable, torturous piece of shit.
Well done.
Yeah, it actually felt pretty good checking that one off the list.
Only one left.
Alright, but before I do that one, can I get something to drink? Booze, water, anything?
He has suffered quite a bit so far. Fine, but no tricks.
I would never.
Unchain him.
Thanks. I'm Confused Reviews. Thanks for watching.